What if you could hit reset this summer and feel better than you've felt in years? The Reboot and Refresh Dry July experience is more than just a break from alcohol. It's a chance to reconnect with your energy, your confidence, and your clarity. Inside this 30-day challenge, you'll get powerful daily support, mindset tools, coaching, and the community connection you actually need to make it stick. This isn't about white knuckling your way through July. It's about discovering how good life can feel without alcohol in the way. So if you've been feeling stuck, tired of the start-stop cycle, or just curious about how much better life could be without alcohol running the show, join us for the Reboot and Refresh Dry July experience. It starts on July 1st, and you can sign up today by visiting the link in the show notes. I'm so excited for you to start your alcohol-free summer transformation. Welcome to the No More Wasted Days podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and today I got to sit down and chat with Hadley Sorensen. Hadley is an author and a sober content creator, and we both actually have something in common besides being sober. We were both Beachbody coaches back in the day. So we unpack what it was like being a Beachbody coach and promoting wine or beer as part of our health-focused journey. We both had a lot of feelings to unpack around this topic because we both are not part of an MLM these days and say we will never really do that again. And quitting drinking really allowed us to open our eyes to the truth about network marketing and MLMs. So this is definitely one to listen to. Like I said before, Hadley is also an author. She wrote the book The Dirty Truth on Social Drinking, Everything in Moderation and Other BS. And you should definitely go pick up a copy of that book after you listen to this episode. And you can find the book on Amazon or wherever you purchase your books. And I'll be sure to link it in the show notes as well, along with how you can follow Hadley after listening to this episode. Now, let's dive into this interview with Hadley Sorensen. Welcome to the podcast, Hadley.
Thank you so much for having me.
I feel like I've followed you on Instagram since I started posting sober stuff on Instagram. I'm not sure if that's really true, but how long have you been on Instagram?
So my Instagram presence predated my sobriety. So I was out
Oh,
here
yeah.
and made a shift right around the time I stopped drinking almost 5 years ago. I started talking about it and then gradually just more and more until that was all I talked about. So
I see. But probably is about the same time because I'm 7 years alcohol free now, and I feel like I was talking about it right at the beginning, but Instagram took forever for me to take off with on my sobriety page. It was tricky, and then all of a sudden, it's like you find your people and you're all good to go.
yeah, and I feel like the sobriety space wasn't quite as robust 5, 7 years ago as it is now, for sure. I wish I
Yeah,
had discovered it sooner. It would
yeah,
have really helped.
totally. So, will you take us back to the end of your drinking days? What did your drinking actually look like right before you quit? And what finally made you say enough is enough and you stopped?
Yeah. So my drinking journey, I always say that for me, it wasn't about how much or how often I drank. It was about how I felt when I did. I didn't always drink every day. I didn't always even drink every week. But when I did, I was a blackout drinker. I blacked out frequently from the time I got drunk for the first time in high school, all the way up through college, and then beyond into adulthood. And it was really problematic. And it was starting to become more and more clear that my relationship with alcohol was never going to be healthy. I was never going to be able to fix it like I had been trying for so long. And I will say that during COVID, my drinking shifted a little bit. We had a lot going on, obviously. Everyone did. But in the midst of all of the COVID stuff, my husband was diagnosed with cancer and was going through cancer treatment during COVID lockdown and all of that. It was crazy. And so I started drinking more every day. Still
Yeah.
wasn't a lot, but it was like every day at 5 o'clock. I depended on that glass of wine. And it was just escalating. It was like this snowball gathering speed rolling down the hill. And I'd never felt good about it. I'd always felt like something was off.
Yeah.
And that last summer, it was August 6th, was my sobriety date. I woke up in the middle of the night just with this like awful hangover setting in, and I was just like overcome with this sense that this is it, something has to change. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't have to live like this anymore. And I knew this was more than just taking a break like I had done many times.
Yeah.
This needed to be different. And it was. So that was my last hangover.
You're like, "I'm done after that." And did you use a program at all when you quit?
So I didn't, and I'm not suggesting that's the right,
Yeah.
the wrong
No,
way to
I'm
do
like,
that.
I didn't do anything either, so I'm always just curious
I
because I know
didn't,
it's like
yeah.
so many people do different things.
And I support whatever way, who's it, Annie Grace, that calls it spontaneous sobriety or
Yep.
whatever. I kind of forged my own path. I felt strongly that AA was not appropriate for me. I didn't want anything else. I read a ton of quit lit. I found my own path and what worked for me, and it worked really well. And so I just ran with it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's about when everybody talks about the spontaneous sobriety, not everybody, but that was something that really stood out to me when I read This Naked Mind, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't think you were allowed to quit drinking and just quit." That sounds so ridiculous that I didn't think you were allowed to
Oh, I
do that, but
know.
when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was really like, "And if you quit, you have to relapse, like, that's part of it." Like, that's kinda what my brain thought, and I was like, "No, you don't even have to do that. You can just quit." And I was like,
You
"Oh,
can just be done. And I think because for so long we've lived under the assumption that there's only two kinds of people. Either you're an alcoholic, and that means this set of things, and you have to go to AA, and that's the only way to address it. That's just what was ingrained. Maybe it's
yes."
generational, or you're a normal drinker and you should be okay. And so in my head for so long, I was like, I don't fit in that bucket. So I must be okay. I just have to keep going. And then it was like, and spontaneous sobriety makes it sound really easy. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it was easy, but it was like this. Oh, wait, you don't have to. There's not just two buckets, it's the
Yeah.
spectrum, and you can fall anywhere on that spectrum.
Yes, and that helps so much. So, you and I both came from the Beachbody world. That was something that stood out to you for you, because I was like,
Yes.
"She's doing Beachbody workouts, I know what those are." And I just think it's such an interesting thing for us to talk about because we were both promoting health and fitness while openly promoting drinking. And, so what did that culture look like for you? Because I was taught with Beachbody, and I was not taught by Beachbody to drink. I don't want people to think that. But I was taught these are 5 pillars of social media, and I made one of my 5 pillars beer. I was like,
Mine
"I'm
was
gonna
wine
be" yeah, I was like, "I'm gonna be the lady that drinks beer and still is fit, and
because
you
it's
can do it."
balance, right? It's all about
Yes!
balance. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did that look like for you?
It's so interesting because I have definitely talked about my old sort of social media persona where it comes to the mommy wine stuff and how I was a fitness coach talking about wine. I haven't really unpacked publicly the Beachbody thing. And I don't know where you stand with it, but like my feelings about it all are pretty messy and
Mine are too.
complicated. And
Yep.
I would do it very differently. I wouldn't do it.
I
I
wouldn't
have
do an
I have
MLM again, but
yeah, I have very different thoughts on MLMs now. I have learned a lot. I've grown, but just like with the drinking thing, it's like when we know better, we do better. And Beachbody met me where I was. It was a point in my life where I needed something, and I do not regret it because
yeah.
I learned a lot about myself during that time. I grew. It served a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. But it was it's messy when I look back on it, and my feelings on it are really complicated, and I think a lot of that comes from the drinking stuff that was happening during that time. So I made, like you said, one of my like I was good at it, and I was good at like the social media thing, and I one of my pillars, a big part of my persona was you can have it all. You can find that balance. You can be super fit and healthy, but you can still love wine. And I turned it into a big joke that was essentially designed to make me feel better about my drinking. And I was promoting drinking as part of a healthy lifestyle, which I feel super icky about now.
I
And
hear you.
and I was like drinking a bottle of wine and blacking out on Friday night, but still getting up and running 15 miles the next day because I was marathon training and you're an endurance athlete. And so that's just what you do. And I
Mhm.
joked about how hungover I was or how dehydrated or whatever because I thought it was a big joke. When I was younger, so my body was a little more forgiving than it would be
Yeah.
now. Like you can just get away with more when you have a younger body.
Oh, yeah. I would take after pictures after a night of drinking because I was more dehydrated, and it's when you
Ooh.
could see ab definition. I would weigh myself after a night of drinking, which seems counterintuitive, but I would be dehydrated. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, this what a good little
Yeah.
thing to do." And now I look back at it and I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
It's so
And
effed up.
the amount I'm always sharing my Facebook memories with the wine memes and the cringy
Mhm.
posts I did and stuff. And I look back on it now and it's not only did I make that my whole personality, and not only was I using that to cover up how I felt about my drinking, because if everybody is laughing at it and everybody feels the same way, then I can't have a problem. But I also was fully promoting this idea that if you eat a lot of kale and quinoa and you drink your Shakeology, that it's going to cancel out the wine or the beer or the liquor.
Yeah. Yep.
And
And
then in addition, oh, go ahead.
And probably keeping it a secret how much you were really drinking, because I wasn't telling anybody I was going on a bender every weekend. I was being like, "Oh, I have a beer every now and then,"
Yeah,
but that was
right.
not if I was really like, "Oh, I go on a bender every weekend and blackouts are really normal for me, and I'm so hungover on the weekends." I work out just to get through my hangover, basically. That has
Yeah,
been what it
just
became
sweat it
like.
out.
And I would promote Energize as a way to get over a hangover.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, that was a good one.
oh, if
Ugh.
you mix Energize and Hydrate, you're gonna get over your hangover faster. I wouldn't just outwardly promote it, but it was definitely part of my shtick. And I just it was I'm like you where I look back and I'm like, "Well, you didn't know." And I was very much in this culture that at the time I loved. I don't want people to I was very blind to a lot of what pyramid schemes are. My kids always just
Yeah.
call it my pyramid scheme time, and I'm like,
Well,
"It wa
and
well, it wasn't a pyramid scheme." But I'm like, "But it
a
kinda
lot of
was."
guys, I still have really close friends.
Yeah.
Some people I was friends with before that, and then we went through it together, and some people I met through it, and they're still dear friends, and I'm not knocking that. But the other thing, and I don't know what the experience was like for you, but another thing that makes it messy for me is that a lot of our events and functions that we did as a part of Beachbody revolved around very heavy drinking,
Yes.
and a lot of my very worst drinking episodes, blackout experiences that I still have to fight cringing and cowering in shame are from leadership retreats that
Mhm.
we had. They're from events at a winery. They're from what was the
Summit, the
summit,
big
some things that I cannot even talk about because it just brings the memories of those
yeah.
hangovers, the blackouts. It's just visceral. And the fact that was so normalized in that culture that was supposed to be all about health and wellness and fitness. And we just, again, I'm not saying that you can't be reasonably fit and healthy while drinking moderately, even though we know there's no perfect definition of that, whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
saying the two are mutually exclusive, but promoting wellness in the same conversation with alcohol, they just don't belong in the same conversation, and we
No.
know that now.
Yeah, because I remember watching one of the people get awarded top coach, and they always gave him this big belt, which was so stupid now when I think about it. And they gave
So
her a
stupid.
big belt to hold tequila because drinking was part of her thing. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah.
and I thought,
But
"God,
wasn't
if
she
it."
pregnant? So they put water in it because she was
Oh, I
pregnant when
don't
she
she
was
might have been.
accepting
Yes, but they
that.
still, like, made a joke about her drinking,
Mhm.
and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, "God dang, if the number 1 coach drinks all the time, I can drink all the time. I can drink and build this business." And entrepreneurship was kinda sold to me as this time freedom thing, which now I laugh at because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, I have no time." But
Gosh, I
it
worked like 24 hours a
right?
day.
Especially when I did Beachbody. I'm so much better now that it's my own thing. But it was sold as this time freedom piece, and I really thought, if I can do this, I can drink whenever I want to. I can have a hangover whenever I want to, which now looking back is so effed up. But it just was all this weird intertwined thing. And I quit drinking while I was still doing Beachbody. Did you quit drinking while you were still doing it? Or were you stepping away
So
by then?
I was starting to peter out. I was
Mhm.
starting to get burned out and I felt myself pulling back. And then the drinking thing happened and it was like the blinders came off and
Yeah.
I suddenly was like, I do not feel aligned with this anymore. And I feel like I've been living this lie and it was icky and it was so contradictory. And I
Yes.
felt like I feel like we're on the same page, so I'll say this. I feel not to get too deep, right? But I know we're on the same page with a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
Beachbody now look and all of those MLMs, it feels very it can be very predatory towards
Yes.
women, as is alcohol,
Yeah.
right? Mommy wine culture, the pinkifying alcohol, all of that, it's a feminist issue. And so the two of those went really well together. The
Yeah.
kind of mommy wine culture, binge drinking culture, and Beachbody, they went hand in hand. And I was suddenly like, whoa, I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. And that's when I
Yeah.
just saw myself out the door and did this full pivot.
Yeah. And it was such a big shift. And I even remember stepping back, and there was a lot of things happening in 2020, obviously, with the pandemic and then the protests with George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement, like all those things. And watching a lot of my team and some not close friends, my team, but my team not saying anything about it
Yeah.
and being like, "I'm not gonna use my platform." And I was like and that really bothered me, and I was just like, "And I gotta say something that I grew this following, and it wasn't like I didn't know my feelings on it yet, so I didn't say a lot of things, but I was like, "God, this is wrong." And then starting to see, "Oh, these women are so different from me." And I was like, "Oh, I" that's when I stepped back and was like, "Oh my god, I think I was in a cult." I was like, "Oh, shit." I was like, "It happened to me." And I even look back at my marketing and I'm like, "Oh, that's so not you." And I love the way
I
I get to
know.
represent myself on No More Wasted Days and just be me and show up with no makeup or show up with makeup. Just show up and be myself authentically, and it is such a relief.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
I am
oh,
so with you.
it was just like have you read the book Hey Hun by Emily Paulson?
I was just gonna ask you
Yeah.
that. I have not read the whole book, but I
Oh my
adore
god.
her and I follow her closely and
Yeah.
but yes, she was like, and I guess she came across my radar right around that time and it was
Oh,
like this,
probably.
oh my God, what have I been doing?
Yes.
Um,
And she quit drinking while she was in Rodan and Fields
yeah.
which she doesn't say in the book, but you figure it
Well,
out,
yeah,
okay. But
yeah, yeah.
let's be real.
No.
But it's like she was made to be like the poster child of sobriety then within the company. And I was like, "Whoa, what like a pivot to take," and then slowly come awake to all of it. And I was like, "Oh, it's just" I knew we'd be able to talk about a lot with this.
Yeah, I
'Cause I've
know.
asked
I know.
other Beachbody coaches, and they're like, "I don't really wanna talk about Beachbody," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, everybody wants to hear.
I know.
Spill the
And
tea."
so I will say that I have reconciled in my mind, like I will not beat myself up over those
Yeah.
days or regret. And honestly, for the most part, I feel I did put my own spin on it in a way that because health and fitness has always been my passion. And I feel good about the way in which I helped a lot of people
Yeah.
like fall in love with fitness in a different way.
Yeah, I still have one of my groups going, my Fit for Life group,
Oh,
where we
that's
still
awesome.
check in, and then I'm
Like
like,
that
"Guys"
account and
yeah,
there were a
like
lot of good parts of
oh,
it.
yeah, and I just love that, and it was yeah, there were it was a lot of fun stuff too. So,
Yeah.
now looking at it, I think we kinda talked about this, but have you I know now that you share openly about it, like, I used to promote alcohol, and now I can see this other side, and I think that's really important. Is there anything else that has helped you just go, "It is what it is, I've learned, and now I'm a different person"?
There's been a lot of reckoning that's gone into that. I will say that writing my book was cathartic. It helped me because that I started writing right around the time I fully walked away from Beachbody and was trying to make sense of all of this in my head. And that helped me. Although I don't get into it a lot in the book, just that process helped me come to terms with this. And I love using those old examples and doing posts. It's like that, okay, I can't go back and change what I did, but I can turn that mess into my message and help educate other people because I see a lot of crazy BS on the internet about drinking, but I really feel wrong about calling people out publicly. I'm just not, maybe I should, but I'm not the kind of person that could stitch somebody's mommy
Yeah.
wine post and be like, this person is an idiot. It just makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, we leave
But I
that to
can,
Beth Faracco, right?
and she's great at it,
Yeah,
right? Like
she can do it.
like some people can, right? I mean, and a lot of times I think I need to be more like that. But I can share my own examples and I have no problem making fun of my own damn self and calling myself out because I didn't know any better and now I do. And if I can help someone else, and a lot of times the message I get is, oh, lighten up. In fact, I did just this morning share on my stories some examples of some just like screenshots of some crazy ones that crossed my feed that were really gross.
Yeah.
And a lot of time the mess that what I hear is, oh, lighten up. It's just supposed to be funny. It's not that deep. It's not a joke, but it is that deep.
Yeah. And it's kind of not a joke. It's really
Right.
serious. And it's hard when you know that to then present it to others. Because if it would have been presented to me that way, I would have been like,
Oh, I would have rolled my
back off.
eyes.
Yeah.
And yeah. And again, we're not saying that like everyone has to stop drinking
Yeah.
but like you can have a drink without turning it into a punchline. We wouldn't make these jokes about heroin. We wouldn't make them about
Exactly.
meth. We wouldn't make them about, but alcohol is an addictive drug that millions of people struggle with.
Mhm.
And it's effectively been like weaponized against us, women in particular, but yet and we're just perpetuating it all if we keep making jokes about it.
Yeah, yeah, and those jokes, they kept me feeling like it was very normalized. I still have I love pint glasses, okay? But we still have one that says, "It's not drinking alone if your dog is with you," and I'm always pouring my protein shake into it or my iced
Yeah.
tea, and I'm like, "I still
No
got it."
good story started with a salad.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm like, "I don't know, I really like salad." That's always me. I'm like, "But have you tried salad?" Very good.
yeah,
So you were talking a little bit about writing, and you started that you were probably writing while you were drinking, but you
yeah.
really dove into it afterwards. You wrote your book, The Dirty Truth on Social Drinking: Everything in Moderation and Other BS. I love that. I hate it when people say, "Why don't you just learn how to moderate?" But after everything you've experienced and learned, what do you really believe the dirty truth is about social drinking that people don't talk about enough?
I think we've touched on some of it, right? I
Yeah.
think the big one is that alcohol is problematic, so it's going to cause problems. You don't have, it's not binary. It's not either you're an alcoholic or you're normal. There's
Yeah.
so much gray area, and it doesn't matter where you fall on that spectrum. If it feels like a problem for you, it's a problem for you, right? The other kind of things that fall into the dirty truth category are you don't have to hit any kind of stereotypical rock bottom. Your problems don't need to seem extreme. Nobody needs to know. Anyone can quit drinking for any time, at any time. And the whole moderation thing, there's no perfect definition of moderation. It's an
Yeah.
addictive substance. And not everybody, you're not a failure if you can't moderate. It's pretty normal. That's alcohol doing its job. Its job is to keep you from moderating it. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we've just been conditioned as a society to think that problematic drinking is normal and it's funny and everyone does it and you should be able to do it without a problem. If you can't, then that's on you, right? And
Yeah.
that's just not true.
Did you try I know you probably did, but did you try to moderate before you quit?
Like
I'm like, that was
for
my whole last 3
decades,
years. Yeah. I'm like, I thought I
decades.
was moderating. Like,
Even back to looking back to college, there were phases where I would have a particularly bad blackout and I would be like, I'm never drinking again. And I would take a break for a month and then I would be like, okay, I'm going to just really moderate now. And it would
mm,
always look different, but it would start with rules like, I'm
oh,
only
always.
drinking wine. I'm only going to have one drink. I'll only drink on Thursday, Friday, Saturday when I was in college. And then that just carried over into the mommy wine world. We were now sipping our wine in the cul-de-sac with the baby monitors, like all the neighbors hanging out.
Yep.
And I would set the rules and then I would break them and then I would slowly inch back to where I was. And then I would have another blackout that kind of shook me and I would start the whole thing over again. Me and moderation just were never gonna mesh. It was never gonna work.
Yeah. I had to look back and finally realize I was always a binge drinker. And that was just my thing. I didn't have an off switch. I
Same.
was kinda like, and I had to realize, and I feel like, gosh, it took me a while on my alcohol-free journey to finally go, "You're a problem drinker. You have a problem. You could definitely fit the alcoholic definition." Like, it took me 2 years to go, "Oh, okay." And that was like 2 years of being alcohol-free. And it was because I just kept thinking, I wanna be somebody who can take it or leave it. And now I'm somebody who can leave it with not very much thought about it. So I guess I achieved it, but I'm not somebody who can take it or leave it. I
Yeah.
just know I can't do that first one.
For me, it was like that realization that none is always going to be easier than some for me.
Yes.
Like
Oh my
I'm an
gosh.
all or nothing person. And when it comes to alcohol, it's nothing all the
Mhm.
way. And it was
Yeah.
like this light bulb went off. Like I always thought the goal was moderation. Like why I'm a successful person. Why can't I'm an overachiever? I was a straight A student. Why can't I figure this out? And then finally
Yeah.
it was like, oh, if moderation is doesn't work for me, that's okay. That's not the only option.
Yeah.
And that like releasing that idea of moderation was a big one.
Yes, for sure. And then as far as social drinking, what have you found? Obviously, drinking has become a social thing. For me, at the end, it wasn't. I was definitely drinking to I drank with my husband. If you can call that socializing, I don't think you can. But it was just like everybody thinks it's this little switch, like this thing to help us be part of the crowd and fit in. And what does it look like for you now? Is socializing easy? Is socializing still a struggle?
Socializing is easier for me now because I have accepted a few things about myself since ditching alcohol.
Mhm.
Since I was 14, I used alcohol to fit in, to be part of the crowd because I thought it made me funnier. I thought it made me who everyone wanted me to be. And I never learned to love myself as an introvert and all that kind of came with that.
Yeah.
And so now I've learned more about myself in the 5 years since I quit drinking than I learned about myself the first 41 years.
Oh my god,
Right?
that's so true. Yes.
And I really enjoy myself in social settings now and I don't care. I don't if other people are drinking, I certainly don't care because I know they're not paying any attention to me. I if I've had enough, I've just had enough and I go home. I
Yeah.
think it also comes with being in my mid 40s and this
Yes.
general I don't give a fuck attitude. So it was like great timing. It was like those two things colliding and I'm like I don't care
Exactly.
about fitting in. Actually, this past Saturday was my niece's graduation party, and it was a lot of crazy scenario, but a lot of my guy friends from college there because
Oh, wow.
my cousin married one of my really good friends from college. I introduced them. And so all of his guy friends, they were all at their daughter's graduation party. So this was like a big drinking crew. This was like the crew I drank with all through
Yeah.
college.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and of course, we're all older. It was a graduation party. People weren't throwing down. But there was one of their neighbors there who is an obnoxious guy. And I went up to the bar table to get another club soda. And somebody said, oh, are you waiting for the white wine? Do you want me to pour? I said, no, I'm just grabbing a club soda. And this guy started booing me. It was like the example of what you think of when you sit and
When you first quit, you think this is
when
gonna happen.
you think people are going to boo you. And it was so funny that it happened at this point, 5 years down the road, because I was like, this is hilarious. I can't believe this is really happening. Thank you for giving me like a content boost for my
I know.
Instagram
I'd be
this
like,
week.
"Could we redo this and
Yeah.
film it, please?"
Yeah. He kept going, boo, club soda, boo. And he was really drunk. And
Oh
I was
my
like,
god.
it's so funny that this is coming from this neighbor guy that I don't know and not any of the college crew that I used to drink with. It was just really funny. But I was like, the fact that I laughed about it and thought it was so ridiculous, and I rolled my eyes at the guy and
Right?
just kind of chuckled and walked off.
Oh my
Um,
god. Oh,
yeah.
there's so many I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that
Oh,
moment, just to be like, "Are you kidding me?"
yeah. I was like, actually, this is great. Again, I was like, oh, I wish I had this on film.
It's like one of your trolls came to life, which people are always kinda, "Oh, people say such mean things to you," and I'm like, "I don't
Yeah.
care." I don't even I kinda laugh at those,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I'm just like, "Oh my god." To have it happen in real life, I
Yeah.
would just be
Oh,
like, "This
I was
really
like, "Oh
can
my
happen?"
gosh, I didn't know this stuff really happened. This is great. I
Oh
love
my
it."
gosh, you need to do, like, a reenactment or something. I'm always trying to get my kids I'm asking my son, "Will you please read all of my hater comments?" And he does this really funny voice, and I'm like, "You can wear, like, a towel over your head," and he's, I'm not
Oh,
gonna be a
that's
part of
actually
your social
a great
media," and
idea.
"But it'd be so funny."
There's some really funny book reviews, and my younger son loves to go out and read the book reviews.
Oh my I know, 'cause my son will be like, "You're getting some mean comments," and then he'll start reading them to me in his funny voice, and I'm like, "Oh my god."
Oh, I'm totally gonna ask my son to do it's gonna be like I'm gonna do a series where he reads my one-star reviews about
Yes. Oh, if you can get him to do it. I thought my son would be all over it because he's a total ham. I was like, "Oh, he's gonna love this idea." And he was like, "I'm not doing that." I was like, "Fine, I'll keep you off my social media. I'll continue." I did a post where it was just like, "I took my son to the carnival the other day." That's all I said. And he writes below it, "I feel very called out right now." He's commenting on it. I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, now that my 16-year-old is on Instagram, I do feel I'm like, "Oh my gosh," he will troll me on certain posts and,
I
like,
know,
comments,
and
and
I
I'm
make
like,
them follow me. I'm like, "We have to follow
"Oh,
each other. I'm
yeah,
sorry, it's
yeah."
one of the rules, and I'm not gonna comment on your stuff," but and I always go, "And just follow my No More Wasted Days account. That's where I am the most." And then they're like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "You can mute me." I, like, went in and taught 'em how to mute me. I'm like, "I just need people to see you."
Yeah, here's my question for you. This is off topic, but because we're mentioning this, does your son care what you do out here on social media? I was worried that when my boys got to this age, they would be like embarrassed or like, oh, but you know what? They're not, which I
The
think is cool.
It's
And
weird.
all
They
their
are
friends
not.
follow.
Oh, I'm like, I don't think their friends follow me, but I'm like, who knows? But yeah, I don't think he finds it embarrassing. I know my daughter doesn't. It blows my mind. My daughter shows my social media to her friends. Look at my mom. And they'll say she's famous, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right,
But
right.
I'm
I
like,
got news for you.
yeah,
But
sorry,
yeah,
that's actually pretty low. But it just cracks me up, and they'll be like, they think it's so cool that you're sober. They think it's so cool that you'll put it all out there with what you think on politics. And I'm like, okay. And then my son, I think, is kind of, I would prefer nobody finds you, but also whatever. I think they're so used to it being my job
yeah,
that, and I think they know how I treat it too. It's a post it and all right, we're moving on. But except for
yeah.
when something's going viral, it gets exciting in the house. That's when dramatic readings of troll comments start happening. And we're like, ooh.
Yeah, but if you can't laugh about it, if you let it, I had a couple like early on when I wasn't fortified against it, like a couple viral moments that really like almost made me want to
Shut it down.
shut it down. And now I'm like, bring it on. Because if you
I'm
can't
always
laugh
like, "Let's
about it,
pin that comment," because no, it makes me sound like a terrible person, like some sort of I wanna bring it on, but it's just kinda like, "Oh my gosh," it's
yeah,
just
but if you're gonna say stupid stuff,
and then to have it happen in real life to you, I'm just like, that might
right?
be one of the best stories I've heard in a
Oh my
while, so
gosh, it
thank
was
you for
so
that.
perfect. Yeah.
So, lastly, I always like to ask my guests, what does the idea of no more wasted days mean to you now on your alcohol-free journey?
It means freedom. It means freedom from all of the heaviness and the shame and the guilt and the starting over and the regret. Just peace and freedom. And it's so liberating.
Yeah, and isn't it crazy that we were searching for time freedom through something like Beachbody? You can work your ass off 24/7, but don't worry, it's gonna pay off and it's gonna be time freedom. All you had to do was quit drinking, and then you even have that time freedom piece.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It
It's
really is
really
like
incredible.
yeah, I always tell people, if you want the secret, it's quitting drinking. There's a
I
lot
mean,
more
younger
to it,
us probably
but
wouldn't have believed us
God.
if we had told
Yeah.
us.
Younger me would have
But
just rolled my eyes and been like, "I got this totally under control, so don't even worry about me," as I was having a blackout, and I'm like, "No." But so as we're wrapping up and I want people to know where they can find you, where they can find your book.
so Instagram, I'm Hadley_Sorensen. That's where I spend most of my time on social media. I love our little Instagram community in the sobriety space. So I try to keep up with my DMs. I'm always happy to connect with people. And then you can find my book on Amazon, The Dirty Truth on Social Drinking. I have a website as well, but I'm not as active there right now. It's just hadleysorensen.com. And I have a blog and things like that that I need to get back to. But yeah, that's Instagram is probably the main source.
Okay, cool. Have you done Substack yet?
I have not. I have been thinking about it, but I'm working on a second book and I'm not allowed
Ooh.
to take anything else on until I get it done.
Oh, how cool. That's exciting. All
Yeah.
right. I'll drop all of your links into the show notes of the episode so everybody can find you. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
That was such a fun interview for me to do. It was really cool to talk to somebody who had done Beachbody and had very similar experiences in the Beachbody world as far as drinking went. I feel the same as Hadley, where I have a lot of different feelings and emotions about my time with Beachbody because at the time I truly loved it. But when I quit drinking, I started realizing a lot of things about it that just weren't the right fit for me anymore. And then I was dying laughing over Hadley's story about the man booing her at the graduation party. I feel like I haven't laughed that hard at a story in a while, so I hope that one brought you a little chuckle as well. All right, remember to go follow Hadley Sorensen on Instagram, check out her blog, and definitely go grab yourself a copy of her book, The Dirty Truth on Social Drinking, Everything in Moderation, and Other BS. And don't forget to leave a review for this podcast if you haven't already. Reviews are a great way to support the podcast, and they're totally free. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be in your ear in the next episode.